This is Coach's Corner.
Welcome, Commodore fans, to Coach's Corner, a production of Gulf Coast State College today. Coach Scovel and I will talk about the one game we played last week and two big games coming up this week. Lady Commodores right now 20-1 overall, 3-1 in the Panhandle Conference, ranked number 1 in the state coaches poll, and ranked number 2 in the NJCAA national poll. And we played one game last week, traveled over to Pensacola. That's a long road trip, especially for Herman and I. We're getting kind of old, Coach. So
yeah,
we
me too.
come back, and it was foggy and tough coming back. We won 103-83, but that game just seemed a lot tighter than a 20-point win.
Well, we just struggled. You know, it was just such an ugly game, honestly, for both teams. You know, both teams, so many fouls called in the first quarter, and you know, I don't think either one of us really adjusted to the officiating, and we just kind of kept getting caught in bad positions. And so, you know, when the game stops all the time for fouls, it obviously, like you say, the field was just an ugly game. But, you know, in Panhandle play, an ugly win is a win, and that's a wonderful win. You know, come home and try to fix the things that you weren't very good at, but walk away. We went on the road. We don't normally play well, don't normally shoot well at Pensacola, and that may be the most we've ever scored there. I'm not sure, but we scored a lot of points. And, you know, to come out of the first quarter with 34 points and about 89 fouls, I would have to say we, you know, probably have to rethink that and say, oh, it was a pretty good quarter. But anyway, we got the win.
We got the win. If we, like you said, it was 34-19 at halftime, 22-19 points in the second quarter, 30-24 in the third quarter, and they actually won the fourth quarter 21-17. But by then, you had 4-5 players in foul trouble and fouling out, and you know, a lot of fouls called early in that game. Yeah,
at that point, you're just trying to, you know, play time and score and get the clock to run, and maybe not attack as much as you normally do because you got to let the clock run. So, you know, they've got a lot of athleticism. We were concerned about that. They play full court pressure, and, you know, so the things that we were worried about, we just survived them. And, you know, they beat Tallahassee on their court in the first round. So we were very concerned about going on the road, and no team had won on the road up until that point. And us and Chipola both won on the road that night. So any victory at this point, you know, you're just trying to qualify. And the top two go automatically. The third place team, you know, may have to play in or may get the bid to go to the state tournament. You know, that's kind of a new thing. So we keep playing by these new rules, and we have to adjust to them. And, you know, the goal at the beginning of the year is to try to get to Ocala at the end, and we've got 3 wins toward that. We got to figure out how to get some more.
So now you talked about the new rule change. Let me make sure I understand. The third place team potentially will move on automatically, and then the next two, the 3 will be a playoff game.
Yes.
So you could be fourth and still have to play off, but it'll be the highest rated team.
Well, what happens is there's 3 conferences, so the top 2 automatically are in the state tournament. That's 6. But now you have 3 third place teams. So the one that has the best, you have a formula. So the one that has the best part of the formula automatically is in the state tournament. The other 2 have to play a play-in game to get that other bid to the state tournament. So there is potentially the third place team could possibly just get to the state tournament without a play-in game. You know, so the goal is to be the number 1 seed. That's the goal. But at the end of the day, the Panhandle Conference is awfully tough. You want to, you know, advance to postseason play, and that's Ocala. That's on our mind, and we got to figure out. We're going to have more than 3 wins to get there, that's for sure. So we're starting with round 2. We got to figure out how to get some wins, and I tell you, this first week could be a tough challenge to get some wins in playing both Chipola tomorrow night on the road and then Tallahassee at home. This is a kind of, not a make or break, but this is a big challenge for the Lady Commodores this week. This could really give us a shot in the arm, or it could put us in a position where we really got to dig out of a hole.
Oh, well, we'll talk a little bit about it. In times past, before we move on, they rotated around those third place.
Right, no longer.
No longer. So now and what do you think about that? You like the change? Don't like the change?
You know, we've had a lot of change in the last few years. When I got out of the game, only the region winner went to the national tournament. When I got back in the game, there were some at-large bids and some zone qualifiers and some other things. And then that changed from the automatic zone qualifiers. We went to straight at-large bids. And Region 8 is awfully strong, so we could get 3 teams. When we look at it, volleyball went to the national tournament, and the three of the 4 in the Final Four were Florida teams. So that shows you the strength of volleyball in Region 8. I think Region 8 women's basketball is the same. So, here we go. You play by the rules. The rules have changed. There's some of the things I like, some I don't like. But at the end of the day, it's the rules, adjust to them or get out. So for right now, I'm going to adjust to them.
So since we only have one game, we'll back up and talk a little bit about the Pensacola game. Taylor Emery with 14, picked up fouls early, played limited minutes, and was trying to work around foul trouble. O'Neill with 10. Dunlap with a double-double. She had 13 points, 10 rebounds.
Yeah, and she also had 6 blocks, so she was close to a triple-double. So, I thought she was really key to us late in that ball game with those defensive stops. We talk about that all the time, and a block shot is a defensive stop. Whether you get it or whether they have to reset their offense, it adjusts how they play. And so I thought that Jalea, if she could have played some more minutes, probably would have gotten the triple-double. But our whole team was in foul trouble. Me and Coach were the only 2 that weren't, and we probably would head that way too toward technical fouls if we could have. But it was just a sloppy game. It was ugly. When you score 103 points, you wouldn't necessarily think it was an ugly game, but it was. We had to score that many points to win, and thank goodness we have that ability to do that. We can score in a lot of different ways, and I was trying to piece that all together when I run in the mornings and say, it's kind of nice that we can score 103 points and not everybody but was on their A game. So there is still potential for us to put that perfect game together, and if we do, we're going to be tough to beat.
So Bennett with 29, that's a good night for her.
Yeah.
And then I think Fox gave you 15 also.
Yeah, Raven's coming. She was frustrated, we were frustrated, more so her, to come back, sat out 2 months with the injury. And then, to come in and think that, it's all just going to come back to you overnight. So she struggled early, got a little bit frustrated. And so to watch her come back, and I thought she gave us some key baskets in that game. When we needed sometimes you just got to have that shot that gives you a little confidence, a little momentum. And I thought Raven gave us several of those shots throughout that game.
And got some pretty good contact in that game, went down pretty hard. And when you've had that injury, you think about it again, but she bounced right back up and
she came out, kind of scared her. But I tell you what, I don't know that it scares anybody more than me and the coaching staff, because when you watch those kids, I saw the first one, and you get real nervous every time she falls down for sure, and especially when it is a blow to the head, you get a little nervous, and so I kind of gasp every time Raven goes down. But she's tough, and I think it ended up scaring her more than anything, and she came back and did great, and at the end of the day we won, and she's still healthy, so more important, she's still healthy.
And that was the thing there. So quickly, if we run down some of the numbers, we were 40 of 77 for field goal percentage, 51.9, shot well from the floor.
Yeah, surprises me.
So we were 5 of 16 from the three-point line for 31.3%. And then we were 20 of 26 from the free throw line for 76.9%. Out-rebounded them 37-35.
Yeah.
But both teams had 22 turnovers.
Yeah, we had turnovers and probably 100 fouls. I didn't even look at the team fouls, but it was just crazy. But like you say, we shot the ball well. We don't normally do that at Pensacola, so we got to get this three-point percentage up a little bit, as we move along. You have to do something from round 1. Now you move into round 2. We got to do something a little better in round 2 than we did 1, and hopefully that is, eliminate some of the scoring that we're allowing on the perimeter and the dribble drive. So we got to get better. It's a work in progress, and like I say, I think there's still potential for us to get better. And so it's a good sign that we're 3-1 out of the first round, and we still have a lot of work to do to get better.
And then Northwest Florida and Tallahassee played Saturday.
Yeah.
So, and it looks like Tallahassee won 80-75.
Yeah, it was close at the end, like a minute to go. It was a 1-point game. I was trying to watch it online. It kept coming in and out. But, Northwest made a good run. They used that inside game that I feared so much, and they did a good job with that, and they handled their pressure, and so they made it a good game. But Tallahassee won out in the end. And at this point, after round 1, you really don't know what you wish for. Do you sit there and say, well, Northwest and Pensacola, they're 2 games out of the mix, and so is that a good thing because it separates the first 3 a little bit, or Did you want them to win? You don't know what you want. Probably after round 2, we'll know a little bit more. You just know you want to get to the postseason play, and you'd love to be in control of your own destiny, but sometimes you need help from the opponents.
And then we will play at Chipola tomorrow, and Pensacola is at Tallahassee tomorrow. So that will be a pretty interesting game also.
Yeah.
Because, Pensacola beat Tallahassee that first game, and then they're going to be in the Eagle Dome to play. So it'll be interesting. That'll be a good ball game too.
I think Pensacola's going to get Tallahassee's best tomorrow, and Gulf Coast is going to get Chipola's best tomorrow. So these road games are going to be quite the challenge tomorrow.
Now we travel up to Chipola. We defeated them in the opener, but if we look at Chipola right now, they're 19-1 overall. 3-1 in Panhandle Conference, ranked number 2 in the state coaches poll, and ranked number 3 in the NJCA national poll.
Oh yeah.
And then you got to go to Chipola and play.
Absolutely.
So what do we expect, Coach?
It's going to be a tough ball game. It's going to be really tough. Hopefully, it'll be exciting. Hopefully we'll go challenge and like we say, get that potential that we're looking for of having. Might need that perfect game to beat them at their house. So we'll see. But like you say, this has been a lot of fun. Really challenging. You have to be consistent. You have to have consistent discipline with kids. You can't ride the wave. If you try to ride the wave, you're probably going to end up sitting at home in March.
So, and we defeated them back in the first round, 84-75 here.
Yeah.
Barbara Johnson scored 36 points for them.
Yeah.
Right now she averages 12.8. She was averaging about 11 points a game. But we held the rest of their players to 11, 11, and 11.
Right.
Under their average. What do you expect from those players?
Well, they got in a little bit of foul trouble in their post game, so I told our players just last week that I think that's going to be a bigger factor this time. That probably won't occur, so we're going to have to really play some better post defense, and it's just going to be a tough challenge. Hopefully, Barbara Johnson won't have another great night against Gulf Coast, and we're going to have to do a good job out front and on the perimeter. And at the end of the day, hopefully we'll score one more point than they do.
And that's the main thing. If we look at Garvin averaging 14.3, Baker Norcross 14.6, and McDonald 15 points a game. So that's their big 4.
They have a lot of diversity too. Most of the teams in the Panhandle that are on top, the top 3. Definitely have 4 or 5 in double figures, and we're going to have a great scoring night and try to eliminate them from their averages.
And if we look at it, we average more points a game right now than Chipola, 86.6 compared to their 80.1. If we go across the numbers, field goal percentage, a little bit to our favor, 43.9 to 43.2. 3-point percentage, a little more to our favor, 36.2 to 27.1. Free throw percentage, 69.7 compared to 69.2. They out-rebound us 42.8 to 40.1. Assists per game, we 15 and they're 14.1. So
that's funny.
But you can really throw most of that all out the window.
Yeah, because you're just talking about in the hundreds, James. We're talking about in the hundreds when you say just small numbers. Yeah, in the hundreds of So there's not much difference between us, and we're very similar. So it should hopefully it will be a great game tomorrow.
So and then after you get a chance to play that game, then Saturday Tallahassee will come here.
Yeah.
That's the only blemish in the Lady Commodores' record at this time is to the Lady Eagles. So what do we expect there?
Well, hopefully we'll rise up to that challenge, and hopefully that'll still be the only blemish of the Lady Commodores. So I think right now we have to worry about tomorrow. And then Saturday when they come to our house, we definitely will have to play much better than we did at the Eagle Dome.
So for Coach Rooney Scovel, I'm Jamie Spaxley. I'll be right back with Coach Powell to talk about how the Commodores did last week and what's coming up for them this week. Welcome, Coach Powell. We'll talk about what the Commodores did last week and 2 huge games coming up this week. So right now, Commodores 15-6 overall, 1-3 in the Panhandle Conference, and ranked number 7 in the state coaches poll. So first round's over, and now we get to go through round 2. But let's talk a little bit about last week. We traveled over to Pensacola State, lost 76-69. First half, they won 38-27. The second half, we won 42-38. So, what's your thoughts about the game, Coach?
Well, we were down 5. We came out. We were playing well. They were playing pretty well. They had a lot of energy. Their last home game of round 1, and they did a nice job. Playing fairly even basketball. They were up 5 going into the last minute, 14 seconds of the half, and they ran 2 ball screens that we've switched when 2 guard or 2 perimeter players are defending guys, and one of our guys just didn't switch 2 times in a row, and they knocked down both 3-pointers, and so we were down 11 at the half. Was not very happy because the way that we defend ball screens, we start discussing literally the first week we're here, and that's in mid-August, late August, I guess. And so halftime, we addressed some of that, some of the mental lapses. Then in the second half, we came out, and as you said, we won the second half. We cut it to, I think, 3 or 4 with a couple of minutes left, and give Pensacola credit. They made some nice plays at the end to finish the game and to win the game. I thought the last 12 minutes of the game especially, we had Raquel Smoot on the court, Jeremy Harris on the court, Van Johnson on the court, Tyler Bird on the court, and Dontavius Marshall on the court. And those 5 men, those last 12 minutes, of course, we used some timeouts. We had 1 media timeout, and Pensacola used a couple of timeouts. So they had some breaks to catch their breath and get some water. But I thought that those 12 men, or those 5 men during those 12 minutes did really, really well and did some nice things for us. Overall, I think that, and possibly it's youth, possibly it's toughness, but we're doing what we can to overcome it, is that the 2 ball screens we didn't switch. Boom, 6 points. Then we had penetration allowed from the right elbow once, 2 points. Penetration from the left elbow once, 2 points. And actually that was, we fouled, so they got 3. And then we played behind in the post 1 possession, and they get it down there and get a 3-point play. I'm not for sure that we've gotten through to the men yet that every single play in Panhandle Conference matters. If you add those plays up that I just mentioned, that's 14 points that are very avoidable if you just do what you've been taught to do. Now, easier said than done. Pensacola is a good team. But at the same time, I think that maybe the men have more of a scores mentality where, if you make a defensive mistake, it's not the end of the world. And fairness to them, that's what they've been taught. Then also, I don't know that they realize that their one mistake can really impact the game. I think that they possibly think that, well, I made one mistake, and another man just makes one mistake, and then as a coach, former coach, that those build up on us. So we've tried to stress that and address those issues, and the men have been receptive. And hopefully we're getting those things addressed so that Tuesday night when we go into the Chipola game, we'll be ready to go. One startling stat from the first round is we have a stat program now that it's just called a plus-minus statistic. And it is how well we do against our opponent when a certain player is in the game. And it was startling because you see men in practice every day and you have in your gut and in your mind who the better player is in theory. And then when you see those plus-minus stats, you start to see, wow, when this point guard is in the game, we're substantially better than this player. And so that's helped us too. I think that it's helped us make sure that we're starting to make sure we have the right men on the court the greatest amount of time for our success. So some positives there because we didn't play Saturday. Practices were good and lively, and I think that the men will be ready tomorrow night as we go into a hostile environment at Chipola.
So if we look at some scoring, Will Robertson, 19 points, and he's starting to put back-to-back games together for you.
Offensively, he's played well in 3 of the 4 games So very proud of Will. He's done a very good job of playing in the middle against the zone and finding seams and gaps to get the ball, and the perimeter players have done a decent job of getting him the ball in there, and he's proven that he can make that mid-range jumper, he can make a power dribble and get in to the rim and finish. And so Will has really done a good job on the offensive end, and we're glad of that. And he's been very competitive, with the exception of maybe being the Tallahassee game. Will has competed for us at a high level and really proven he belongs in the Panhandle Conference.
And then Tyler Bird with 18, Jeremy Harris with 11, everybody else in single digits for tonight.
Mm-hmm. Tyler provided a much-needed lift for us by making some big shots that allowed us to make that run at them to try to win the game there at the end. And then Jeremy came back and after sitting out a game, really not helping us any in the Northwest game at all, and having a less than what we would expect from him in the first half against Pensacola. The second half, Pensacola, he turned it on and I guess let himself go a little bit and played well for us that second half.
So now one of the things, only 8 turnovers for the game, Coach. They had 19, Commodores had 8.
For the most part, Don Tavius has done a pretty good job, if we look at the season statistics for him, taking care of the basketball. Possibly the game at Tallahassee is the only time that we've been up above 14. 14's that cutoff. If you have 14 turnovers or less, then you've got a good chance of winning the game. Of course, there are other things that factor in. So the men have done a pretty good job. I don't think that they get really rattled as far as throwing the ball in the stands or trying to throw crazy passes that just aren't there. And so that's a good thing, especially for a couple of freshmen playing at the point for us and getting a lot of minutes this year. That's a good sign for us.
So if you look at that, so that's what happened then. Now, second round, we traveled to Chipola. We defeated them here. Chipola is a very, very tough place to go play. And so what do we expect there, Coach?
Well, on Saturday night, Coach Vogler and I, my wife, she went with me. We went up to Chipola and watched the Pensacola at Chipola game. Just like all of us, with every game that we get used to Panhandle Conference play, we're all improving, we're getting better. Chipola won the game by 3. They made a 3-pointer with about 6 or 7 seconds left. Pensacola came down, called timeout, ran a play, but they were not able to get a bucket. So a big win on their home court to put us in a 3-way tie with us, Chipola and Pensacola, on the outside chasing Tallahassee and then chasing Northwest Florida. I think that Chipola, they do play a lot of zone. They 2-2-1 press. I would anticipate they play us a lot of man. I don't know that they're going to watch this, but that would be my expectation for a few different reasons. But we'll be prepared for both, and hopefully the men will execute and produce the way that they're capable of producing. I know that we need to play better defensively than we did the first time we played them here. They scored, I believe it was 80 points, or maybe 82 points even. So we need to pick up the defense. If we do that, I think we got a great shot of winning the basketball game.
So it was 106-87.
87.
That's what we did there. If you look at the points and the numbers, they're averaging 93.6 points a game. So they can put up the numbers. Commodores averaging 75.3. Field goal percentage, 53.6 compared to the Commodores 45.9. 3-point percentage, we're a little better than they are, 35.2 to 34.2. Free throw percentage, 69.2 to 64.1 in our favor. Now, they rebound 44.1 to our 29.8, so their bigs play well inside.
Their bigs do play well. I believe it's freedom of the coach to schedule how they want. Those numbers are probably misleading to someone. They did have a couple of games that were like 150 something to like 43 in the non-conference season that skew those stats somewhat. We played one prep school ourselves. I think that they played 4 or 5, and that's part of it. You know, that's just the way it goes. Sometimes it's difficult to find games, but that kind of, if you look throughout the season, that skews those stats a little bit as far as scoring averages. But they're definitely capable of putting the ball in the hoop. They have tremendous athletes, tremendous size, as you alluded to. Cobb, transfer from South Carolina, very, very good in the post, and then Turner. Really was the difference maker for Chipola Saturday night because he stepped up and made 4 3-pointers in the first half and really kind of got them going and got them believing in the first half of the game against Pensacola. So, and then of course number 4, their point guard, he played very well against us the first game in the first round. So very talented, they always are. We'll have to go in there and execute and play well. But our men are definitely capable of defeating them again.
And then Tallahassee comes to town Saturday. And Tallahassee right now is 3-1. They lost to Northwest Florida Saturday, 78-76. So Northwest Florida still perfect in the Panhandle Conference.
A big road win for Northwest Florida. Tallahassee is evidently a great game. Obviously, with us playing Chipola next, I needed to be at that game. Coach Jackson went to see the TCC Northwest Florida game. TCC, we know that they're very good. They've lost 2 games all season. Very talented. We'll have to be very tough and very physical to win the game. I believe that our men are very capable. I'm glad that we get to play them at home this time. And bigger picture, which I've asked the men, the assistant coaches not to do this, and so I'll be brief as far as big picture goes, or anything other than just the next game. We could even say the next practice or the next play. We're trying to look in more detail as opposed to broader, but this next round, you know, will dictate, you know, what we do. Whether we're making a run to get into the state tournament or if we're not. I don't know that it's just any one game of the 4 that will dictate it, but when we're sitting here in a couple of weeks and we've played this round of 4, we'll know. We'll know if we're playing out the season to, you know, have a better record and work in the win column, or if we're making a run into the state tournament. I think the men are definitely capable. Like I said, I like the attitude and the approach that we've had in practice. Work ethic's been good, attitude's been good, but working hard, attitude, all of those things, they do matter. But at the end of the day, the men have to get the job done. We have to get the job done as a group and as a team. So we're looking forward to it. Should be fun for us.
So if we briefly run down the Panhandle Conference, Northwest Florida State College 4-0, Tallahassee Community College 3-1, Chipola 1-3, Gulf Coast 1-3, and Pensacola State 1-3. Tomorrow night's Tuesday's game we'll carry it on WKGC 90.7 FM, and Saturday's game will be on WKGC 90.7 FM HD and GCTV. So for Coach Powell, I'm James Baxley. Thanks for watching, Commodore fans, and we'll see you next time on the Commodore Sports Network.
This has been Coach's Corner with your host, James Baxley.